Hello there, this week in Marvelites. This is Marvel.com editor Mark Strom, joined for a very special This Week in Marvel with Agent 13 from Marvel's Captain America, the Winter Soldier herself, Emily Vancamp. How you doing, Emily?
I'm really well, thanks. How are you?
Good. We should note that we actually had to re-record this first bit because my recorder managed to crap out on us. So that's maybe the third time we've had that exchange. But, I was wondering, when this all came together, your role as Agent 13, how did this movie first get on your radar, and how did you first get involved in it?
Well, it was really random, actually. My agent and manager called me one day and said, hey, so Joe and Anthony Russo would love to sit down and meet with you. They're doing the next Captain America film. And I just thought, wow, that's out of the blue. I mean, cool, that's amazing, but wow, I wonder why they would want to meet with me. And of course, everything's very tight-lipped at Marvel, so I had no idea what the character was. I had no idea what this whole thing was about. So, of course, I go and meet with them, and they're just such awesome guys. So that was really great. But I knew they had done several rounds of casting before, and I guess they weren't sure and wanted to do sort of one last round and do some screen tests with Chris. And so, I went home for the holidays after having met with them and then came back. They said they really wanted me to screen test, and I don't know, I guess I sort of thought, well, they're just kind of throwing me in the mix so they have more options. I don't know. You kind of just think inevitably, like, well, I'll go in and try to do the best job possible, but why would they want me for this, And 2 weeks later, I got the call that I was going to be doing it, which was just so incredibly exciting. I mean, I don't know, it all happened very quickly, so it was like I didn't have a lot of time to process it. So all of the sort of research and figuring out, once I knew who the character was, it was like, okay, in, go mode, because I never really was a huge comic book fan, so I sort of immersed myself into that world a little bit. It was an amazing process, the whole thing.
Right, and you said you weren't a huge comic book fan or anything beforehand, but were you familiar with the movies, Al, either the first Captain America or the Avengers before that?
Absolutely. I mean, I've always been a fan of the films. I think that's what's so great about them is that even if you're not fully invested in the comic book world, you can still have an amazing time watching these movies. They do such a great job with them. So I was very familiar with the whole world on that level. Not so much with the comic books, like I said. I mean, the only thing I've ever really read comic book-wise were the graphic novels of The Walking Dead, slightly, not even, like, all of them. So,
right.
There's definitely an art form to reading comic books, I think. It took me a minute to kind of figure it all out. But it was really fun and great what is so great about Marvel as well is they really allow you to obviously you go back and you look at all of the different ways in which the character was approached. I mean, the first thing I looked at was obviously Ed Brubaker's the Winter Soldier, because Agent 13 was all over that, and that's obviously what we're doing right now. So I started with that, and then the producers gave me a Bible of sorts, and I just sat down and got into it, and it's fun to pull from all of the different versions of her and try to figure out, okay, well, what elements about her in this comic book or this one am I going to incorporate to kind of try to figure out who she is in the films. And they really sort of, and as you can see in all of the different films from like Iron Man to the Hulk and all of that, everyone sort of brings their own thing to each character, which makes the films super interesting in my opinion.
Right. And, I have to say that I started out at Marvel as an intern 6 years ago doing things like putting together those character Bibles, like what you got. So it's very nice to hear that they actually do come in handy.
They're hugely helpful. I mean, it saves us from having to go out, find all of the different, these have been written for years and years, so, hugely helpful.
Yeah.
Whoever's out there doing that now, I was super grateful.
All the interns slogging through all the files, I'll go let them know.
Yes, please do.
So, then once you did get involved, I guess, what just was it like working with Joe and Anthony? Because what strikes me about them so much is, and I've talked to them a couple times, and been able to watch them direct portions of the movie back when we were filming last year, is they're so smart at I don't know, breaking down structure and breaking down what makes things work. But I was just curious what it was like from the actor's perspective of how you see them working, and I guess sort of what they bring to it.
Well, I think one of the things that was great, well, first of all, like I said before, they're just such awesome guys. They have such a great sense of humor. They just bring such an incredible vibe to the set. I was obviously nervous going into it, and they put me just completely at ease, and that I was so grateful for, because then it allows you to be the best version of yourself on screen. So super grateful for that. As you say, incredibly smart guys. I love the fact that they're a team. On different occasions, you had one of the guys sort of really focusing on the visuals, which you have to do with a film like this. There's so many effects and so many other things you're thinking about. So having that other sort of team member within the directing realm, it allowed them to focus a lot on character as well. And that's not something you always get. So you kind of knew that everything was being taken care of, from the sort of the aesthetics to the performances to the visual effects. Everything was kind of looked after, and I think they just brought such a sense of ease to the set that everyone seemed super grateful for. And on a big movie like that, it could kind of go either way, because there's a lot of pressure with these films.
Right.
But they really killed it, and I just think generally they had a great vision for the film. I don't think they wanted it to be a typical, what could have been the sort of typical, like, Captain America film. I think they wanted to add some darker elements to it, some sort of, like, 70s thriller aspects to it, just rooted into a reality that you might not always get in a superhero film. I just really loved their vision for it, and I think from what I hear, they've really brought it to life. So,
yeah.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. No, I actually have seen it already a few weeks ago. Is almost finished, and it just really is. They do deliver completely on it.
I'm so excited for them. I mean, I think it's great to see awesome things happen to awesome people, and they deserve all the success they get.
Yeah. And you touched on the more grounded aspect that they want to bring to it, but did that, as an actor sort of in that world, did that tone to the film help you sort of better access it or better be able to relate to your character, even though, clearly there are still people in spandex running around punching other people?
Yeah, well, I think what we really wanted to accomplish, or at least I wanted to, with Agent 13, is that this is sort of, in terms of the films, this is sort of like an origin story for her. We're really just first meeting her. We're seeing Captain and her meet for the first time, and of course, their story becomes more and more complicated as the comic books go on. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with it. But I think they really wanted her to have a very I wanted to incorporate a little bit of a rookie element to her. She's, she's a little bit more naive than we see in some of the comic books. That she's, just sort of coming into her own as an agent. But I also feel like, they didn't want her to be in the, spandex clothing and, doing that whole thing right now. Right now it was, she's just an agent just trying to, trying to do a great job. And obviously, Sharon Carter, Agent 13, has a very strong moral compass throughout the comic books for the most part. And that's, I think, what she identifies with and loves so much about Cap. But we're just sort of it's planting a seed for that relationship and that idea. So, I think she's just in this film, we're just sort of seeing the beginning of her, I think.
Right.
And getting a glimpse of who she is. And I think that made it really fun to kind of, we barely say who she is.
Right.
So it's, I think for the fans, it's kind of like, okay, well, where are they going to go with that? I mean, it's just a little sprinkle of something.
Right. And, I was actually very impressed when I saw it about how, even her character has her own arc, really, sort of in the film, and without giving anything away, by the end of the movie, exactly what you're talking about, there's almost this moment where you see her find her moral compass, or not really find her moral compass, but really...
But she accesses it.
Yes.
she finally, she defends it. She stands up for it. I mean, I think, that's a very clear choice is made in terms of who she is and will be for Captain in a specific moment, and I love that. I love that you sort of see that journey for her, and I think it will lend itself well for whatever that relationship becomes. That she made a very conscious decision to do something, and I think that's all I can say.
Yeah, that's.
I'm like, how do I say this without actually saying what she does? But it was very exciting. I think I really enjoyed learning about her, and I really enjoyed sort of bringing her to life. In a different way than people might expect. I don't know. You never know what the fans are going to think, but I hope they like what we've done with her.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. I think they'll respond really well to her. Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, I just really liked the as you put it, the origin story quality to it, because I don't think that's a story you ever see in the comics, because, or at least with Agent 13, when you first meet Agent 13 in the comics, she's really sort of already there.
She's kicking ass.
Yeah.
She's like, she's... It was fun to sort of see... I mean, I think there is, like, even though, obviously I'm not in the movie very much, but just wanting to incorporate little moments of vulnerability, little moments of just an agent taking shape rather than her being fully sort of there, so that, whatever happens in the end of the film with her, that it actually makes an impact and you realize, wow, she's actually made a choice. I thought that was really important. I mean, that's one of the things I loved so much about her in the comic books is that she just had such a strong sense of justice and such a true and absolute appreciation for Captain and his work, and as a sidekick of sorts. But she had to get there somehow, so it was fun to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, sort of jumping topics a little bit, we have also, of course, the Revenge original graphic novel coming up, that it should be out in a few months, I believe.
Yeah, I think in a few months.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure when this podcast will be posted, but probably within a few months is safe to say. But yeah, I mean, I was wondering, if you were very familiar with it or had any sort of involvement or sort of its story for your character, Emily.
Not really. I mean, I knew that this was happening, and it's all very exciting for us because I've always looked at our show somewhat as having a kind of comic book quality to it. There's sort of like an anti-hero, like, she's kind of like a vigilante. I mean, I've always loved that side of it, and we certainly live in a heightened reality that could lend itself really well for the comic book world. But in terms of what they were going to do with it, I mean, I think that was really up to everyone who was involved. And I mean, from what it sounds like, they've done a really cool job with it. The Revenge graphic novels as well are going to be a sort of origin story of sorts too. It starts off flashing back, from what I know, to Amanda in juvie in this very dark, very angry time for her. And you sort of see her journey up until she gets to the Hamptons and all of the ways in which she's sort of gotten to where she is as the show starts,
Right.
Which has always been a really fascinating part of the character for me to explore playing her, but I think it's really great to see it unfold in comic book form or in graphic novel form. So I think it's going to be really fun, and obviously it's going to touch on a lot of the people that, we've already seen on the show, so, you'll be invested in a lot of these characters, but I think it's just going to be a sort of, like, kick-ass, really fun journey to see her actually make it to the Hamptons, all of her training, all of the ways in which, all of the people that she's helped, all of the wins and all of the failures, and just, I mean, I think it kind of is the perfect story for a graphic novel. Absolutely.
And, you guys are right now probably wrapping up season 3, or at least getting close to the end of filming season 3. So I was curious what, you can sort of say about what's coming up on Revenge as you wind down your 3rd season.
Well, This season's been an interesting one. There have been a lot of losses for my character, which I think, there has to be, to keep a story like this going. But I also feel like, we've been lacking in some really strong, like we haven't really gotten back to, this strong kick-ass girl that people really love. I mean, she's been shot in the stomach twice, she's having blackouts, she's having a mental breakdown. I mean, she's really in a rough spot at the moment, and I think at a certain point I said to our writers, guys, we might want to, let her win at least one. So I think we're coming up on a big win by the end of the season, which will be really satisfying for the viewers. But what that is, I can't really say. It'll be interesting to see, what that is, if it means a takedown, if it means, whatever that is. It's going to be really fun, I think. And, of course, we've got our sort of, here and there we do like a procedural sort of takedown, which we have some pretty good ones coming up, and just, exploring these really complex relationships that she has with the men in her life. There seem to be so many of them. But we get to, we sort of start to figure out a little bit more about her relationship with Aiden, her relationship with Jack. All of that just becomes a little bit more defined by the end of the season as well. So ultimately, I think it'll be really fun.
Yeah, sounds it. Yeah. All right. Well, I know you have to get back to do some more filming, so I'll let you get to that. But thank you so much for joining us, Emily.
Oh, thank you so much.
No problem. And again, you've been listening to This Week in Marvel with Agent 13 herself, Emily Vancamp from Capitão América the Winter Soldier, in theaters April 4th. Go check it out, because it's awesome. And this is Marvel, Your Universe.